Hi boys and girls, hi parents, Mr. Stinson here, and today we're going to talk about responsibility. Teacher-parent responsibility, student responsibility, and how we can get the most out of our students during this time. How can we continue to have them grow using a growth mindset and also gradually release information to them so that they can be the best that they can in and out of the classroom. A method that we like to use here at Literacy First Charter Schools is the I do, we do, you do method. But we also flip it up depending on what we're teaching, and we do the you do, we do, I do. This method helps us get the most responsibility as we gradually release the information to students. So as parents, how can we look at this method and see how we can be more successful with our home learning adventure during this time? And it's all about responsibility. Teacher-parent responsibility, student responsibility. Who's responsible for what and what are their roles? When we start with the I do, as you can see, the parent is doing most of the work, or the teacher is doing most of the work during this time. They're giving some direct instruction, they're establishing goals, they're giving purpose, they're modeling what is happening. While they're modeling, they're thinking out loud so they can teach the student their thought process of the way they're going about. What's the student's role? They're being active listeners. They're taking notes. They're asking clarifying questions so they have a better understanding as the teacher or the parent is doing. They're watching your thought process. This is modeled to the student, and this is usually a direct instruction time. So since it's a direct instruction time, the teacher or the parent is doing most of the heavy lifting, and the student is more watching about how to do something. When we're looking at the next part, the we do section, we need to remind ourselves that this part is together. This part is together. So if it's together, we need to reestablish what the roles are for each participant, the parent, teacher, and the students. When we're doing it together, it's a shared instructional time. Shared instructional time between the teacher, parent, and student. They need to be sharing within that. So let's establish our roles. What's the teacher's or the parent's role? They are to be guiding, prompting, asking questions of the student, facilitating the interactions with the learning. What's the student's role? They need to be asking clarifying questions. They need to be participating. They need to be active learners and doers within the material. During the we portion of this, it's coming together to get a better understanding of the material that they're learning. The next phase of this method is the you do. But this is the you do together piece. So you're going to do it, but you're going to do it together. This gives us the most bang for our buck. So you're going to watch as your student does it, and you're going to guide them. So let's establish our roles again, because remember, we're collaborating. This is a guided instruction time, but we're collaborating. So what are the roles of the participants? Parent, teacher, what is your role during the you do together piece? It's you give feedback. You observe, you evaluate, you assess, you help them think. You give them those clarifying questions to have them re-look at the information from a different angle. What's the student's role during that time? It might be a whole group, it might be a small group, it might be pairs, but they are experimenting to try to figure out how to do whatever the material, the task is on their own. But they have you there as a support to do it together. That's the part of you do together. The final step in it is the you do solo. So when you do solo and we're reestablishing the responsibilities and the roles, let's clarify what that looks like. What is the teacher parent's role when you do? The student is doing most of the work and they're doing it by themselves. What is the role? The role of the teacher or the parent is to be clarifying any questions that the student may have and giving support as needed. What's the role of the student? It's an independent practice piece. So during this independent practice piece, as you can see, the student is producing something solo, and the teacher's not really doing, or the parent's not really doing as much of the work right here, because the student is using the resources and the tools that they have required from going throughout the process to get a given outcome. It is their job to be able to produce something for you. The final step with this on the you do is to remember to reflect. We call this the reflection piece. When the student is done doing the work, we want them to stop and to reflect what went well, what didn't go well, what could they do different next time, what was more materials that they could be doing, because they're trying to reflect on their learning, what they can do to perform better. Now, as I've been talking about this, I've told you that this method can go both ways. It can go top down, I do, we do, you do, or it can go you do, we do, I do. So sometimes we want our kids to struggle a little bit. We want them to get into that frustration level. We want them to be in the pit because they want them to be able to build grit, build endurance, and be able to get out. So sometimes we flip the model around on them. We have them start with the you do. We give them the information and we have them try to independently do something. We have them try to produce the work. Then we move up to the you do. We might give them a whole group, a small group, or a pair activity to try to take what they learned when they did it by themselves and now bounce those ideas off of some other people. Then we go up to the we do, where we do it together, maybe whole group or maybe some small groups to try to look at how's the best way to attack or solve this problem. Then we go up to the I do, and that's where the teacher or the parent is doing most of the direct instruction again. Remember, they're establishing the goals, the purpose, they're modeling, they're thinking out loud for their students. What are the students doing? They're watching, they're listening, and they're learning how you are doing it, and they're comparing what they just did to see how they learn best. And the key part here is they reflect. That's how we use our growth mindset. We reflect on what we have learned and try to establish new ways that we can attack an activity or a task best. This method isn't just for tasks and things that we do in the classroom. This method can be implemented to anything that you do at home. You want to teach your kid how to brush their teeth? You want to teach your kid how to take out the trash? You want to teach your kids how to put their dirty clothes in the laundry basket, or how even to laundry? You walk them through this method, the I do, we do, you do. If you're teaching your kid how to put their dirty clothes away, you might start from the bottom up. You might ask them, like I asked my daughter Lila, go put your clothes away. And you might see how she does it by herself. She might ask her sister what to do next. Then we might move into do it together, and I might help her and show her. Then I might show her how I want her to put her clothes away in the dirty hamper. Now, if I was teaching my daughter how to wash our clothes in the washing machine, I'd probably start with the I do first. And I'd break it down that this is how I do it. And I would tell her everything I have to go to make sure we're washing the clothes in the washing machine. Then we might do it together, and I'm gradually releasing some of the information for her as we're doing it together. Then I would do the you do, and I guide you and watch. And then finally, I'd get to the point where she would be able to do it all by herself. Remember, this method is fluid. It goes top down, down up, depending on what you're trying to teach and how you're trying to teach them. So if we're talking about the I do, we do, you do method, just remember that it's all about responsibility and roles. What's the parent-teacher's role and what's the student's role in their learning? Who's taking responsibility and who's taking ownership in their learning? I hope this was helpful. Until next time, let me know if you have any questions. As always, you can email me. Bye, guys.